love to bring another Nor'easter up here, Miss Holly. Holly Alpern is going to be discussing the very last case study. I've saved the best for last, right? And she's going to be talking about Massachusetts and their Smarter Lunchrooms initiative. This is the last thing we're going to do today, right? Because, like I said, the agenda went crazy. And what we're going to do is, at the end of today, I want you to just think in general about all the information you've heard, and we'll come back tomorrow and discuss what that looks like, all right? So my good friend Holly, who's representing the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, is going to talk about what their Smarter Lunchrooms initiative looks like in their state.
Thanks, Kate.
Not a problem.
So do me a favor and raise your hand if you want to be the last person after 5 other amazing presentations who's already over time. I didn't think so. In Massachusetts, what we're doing is we're taking not just Smarter Lunchrooms, but it's part of a bigger approach that I'm going to go into in a few minutes. But how did we get started with Smarter Lunchrooms? Can everybody hear me okay? Mm-hmm. Okay. Then I'm going to put this down. Back in 2012, 2013, before I was on our school nutrition side of things, I was living in our school health world. And on our school nutrition side of things, Smarter Lunchrooms came to be. Kate came, she hung out, she learned to love Massachusetts even more.
Sure.
We had a couple of trainings at our 2012 and 2013 Summer Institute. We partner with the John Stalker Institute at Framingham State University, who is our primary training arm. And they do a lot of work for us. And Christine Robinson and Karen Allery in the back are with me and are both 2 of our Smarter Lunchrooms coaches and do a lot of other trainings for us through the Institute. And then we also partnered with the Ben Center. So we brought the trainings to our Summer Institute for School Nutrition Directors. In 2012 and 2013, about 60 to 70 individuals were trained. We also had some day-long trainings, and we worked with one district a little intensively, where we did training for about 30 of their staff. What we learned from that is that there was a lot of enthusiasm. Our school nutrition directors were jazzed up. They liked the idea. They thought it was something good to look into. Some moved to implementation. Some got right on board. Some laid the groundwork to advance the initiative. But the downside was, what ended up happening after that was that we didn't do a lot of follow-up. We didn't have the infrastructure built in the beginning. There was some turnover and there were some staffing changes. We also weren't documenting the success to know exactly who was doing what and how it was being done. And so we didn't really have a clear way to collaborate around this. So fast forward to now, the Wellness Initiative for Student Success. Between our Team Nutrition Grant and Smarter Lunchrooms, and also our focus on school health, because that's where I come out of, really looking at, so the school health side, stand up very quickly, but don't talk, if you've ever heard of coordinated school health. Stand up, but don't talk, if you've heard of the whole school, whole community, whole child model. Okay. So what they are, coordinated school health was an 8-component model that was developed by CDC, and it's been around since the late 80s. And it looks at the different components of what it takes to have healthy and engaged and safe students. The whole school, whole community, whole child model is the most recent version of that, working with ASCD. It's a 10-component model now that has nutrition education and services, physical education and physical activity, employee wellness, health education, family and community engagement, among other topics. I'm not going to go through them all. But that's where this initiative comes from. It's recognizing that if we really want to see change in schools, we have to quit working in silos. That it's really great if we're doing Smarter Lunchroom stuff in the cafeteria. And it's really great if we're getting our teachers to do brain interventions and brain breaks. But if we're not making the connection about why is it important to have recess before lunch? Why should my classroom teacher even be thinking about that? Why is it even important if our kids are getting moderate to vigorous physical activity during their physical education class for more than half the time? Because it helps them to then improve and achieve academically. Why is it important that they're eating healthy food? Right? Because we know that that helps them achieve academically. That's what schools are charged with. Schools are charged with academic achievement. So this initiative is saying, we're going to look at all of it. We're going to push schools to look at all of it, because schools at the end of the day are charged with academic outcomes and academic achievement. So let's help schools do that. And we'll send and sell our message in that way. So what we've done is we ask schools who are already having to do their local wellness policies. Again, let's not do another initiative they have to do, let's make it part of what they're already doing. So we're asking them to pull together at least 3 members, an administrator, a physical education/physical activity person, and a school nutrition person. They have 2 more slots. Could be a health educator, could be a school nurse, could be a classroom teacher, could be a parent, could be a community member. We leave that up to them. What they are committing to doing is that they're submitting their local wellness policy to us, which we are then going through and using the WellSat tool that comes out of the Rudd Center, and evaluating their policy for quality, what's already in their policy. We're having them complete the school health index and look at their policies, procedures, protocols, what's happening in the school. They're also committing to participating in the Smarter Lunchrooms initiative, which I'll go into exactly what we're having them do for that component here in just a minute. So everybody's gonna get the 2-hour training, but the school nutrition directors are gonna go more in depth, and like I said, I'll talk about that in a second. They're also committing that at least their administrator and their phys ed physical activity person are going to do the comprehensive school physical activity program training. This training looks at how do we get kids moving before, during, and after the school day. Physical education's great, and we want it, and we want a lot of it, but that's not the only thing we can be doing. So we want kids moving before school. How do we get them moving before school? If they're there for breakfast, and the nutrition folks want them there to have a healthy breakfast, right? So if they're there, they're done eating, let's use that time. Also, after school, what are we offering after school? Is it just team sports? Or do we have other activity opportunities for kids? So we're not leaving some kids out because I didn't make the varsity team, so guess it doesn't apply to me. No, we want to make sure all kids are getting that minimum of 60 minutes during the school day, or during their day, most of which can be achieved during the school day, although not, some would argue all of it. I would say, I don't think schools have to hit all of the 60 minutes, but we can get pretty close by short interventions. So they're committing to that as well. They're committing to complete an action plan that addresses both the nutrition and the physical activity side of things. This could include making changes to their local wellness policy. And then they're going to agree to come and share their program outcomes with us, the strategies, their successes. All of this is setting them up for the Healthier U.S. School Challenge. It's setting them up for the Let's Move Active Schools Award, and it's setting them up for the Alliance for a Healthier Generation Award, which are now aligned with each other. So we're giving them, if they do this and they really take the time and work in their wellness teams and back in their school, they could get at least 3 recognitions, national recognitions. So we're helping them to do that. We originally started to do it for this spring, but then we realized that after 100 inches of snow in Massachusetts, and we're good with snow, we're not that good with snow, that what ended up happening is a lot of districts got pushed back. And so they were scrambling to make up time. And so coming at them and saying, hey, guess what, you want to do something? And they all looked at me and said, no. It was that simple, they said no. So we pulled down the registration, we're gonna launch it in the fall, but then an interesting thing happened. That we pulled down the registration and slowly, each day, I start getting 1 or 2 emails. Hey, wait, my superintendent just sent this to me, I'm really interested, are you still doing it, but I can't register. I said, well, we weren't going to, but what we can do is, I have these wonderful cadre members who are ready to go. We can start you off this spring. And so we've lined up, we have 15 schools that we're doing this spring, and we have 12 scheduled already for the fall, after we've pulled everything down. The other thing we found that has happened too is that sometimes the inquiry has come from the school nutrition director who's really excited about the Smarter Lunchrooms. Other times it's come from an administrator or a physical activity or education person. And so what we're going back and saying is, okay, you can do this, but you have to convince the other side as well. And so another benefit of doing it this way is that we're actually getting buy-in from both sides. And depending on the school, sometimes it's the physical education, physical activity people, and sometimes it's the school nutrition people. Either way, I get the same result, right? And so it's a win-win in my eyes. So here's the Smarter Lunchroom side of what we're including in here. With our history with the John Stalker Institute, the Ben Center, and we know that over 3,000 school nutrition professionals have been trained. We're going to commit to getting this into 50 schools in Massachusetts. We've gained letters of commitment. When we sent in our letter of commitment for our Smarter Lunchrooms Team Nutrition and Training Grant, we had 384 schools and 85 school districts that committed to being a part of Smarter Lunchrooms. So we have a lot of interest there. We're also forming and utilizing our cadre of coaches. So we have 3 folks. And we're going to be assessing our progress of what happens. So as I mentioned, we have the 3 coaches. We have our coordinator who's making sure all of this runs smoothly. Getting our 50 schools with, when possible, we're having one coach work with an entire district. So some districts have come, for example, the 12 we have scheduled for the fall, and said, I want 12 schools in my district. And it's a large district in Massachusetts that has over 60 schools. So we wanted to keep the same coach to go into all of them for a continuity's sake. And we were able to do that. So how did we prepare for this? We recruited, we trained our coaches, and in fact, Kate, you'll appreciate this. Are you around?
I'm here.
Oh. That as we were sitting here earlier, my cadre members looked at me and they said, wait, does that count? We did that? I'm like, yes, you did that. And they know what you're going to do, so it's okay. We're not doing anything under the wire. Then we've had to recruit schools, schedule the visits, standardized procedures, writing a coaching manual, making sure that everybody knows what we're doing and how we're doing it, why we're doing it. What's the orientation? Making sure the schools are on board. They understand what the process, they understand what's involved and what the commitment level is. I should add in here that we're doing this with no money, no incentive for the schools. So what that has done has made me a little bit nervous. But our hope is to leverage the piece of this that I didn't mention and won't spend too much time on is that we've also assembled a state level cadre. Because in Massachusetts, and I'm guessing it's true in your states as well, there are a lot of people who want to get into schools. And there are a lot of people all over the place that say, hey, I went to school. I know how schools work. Right? Has anybody ever experienced that? And we have very well-meaning people, and sometimes those are folks who should be going into schools, and sometimes they might need a little bit of coaching. But what we also found is that we have a lot of really good things happening and a lot of really good opportunities for schools, but our schools are getting overwhelmed, and so they're backing off from everybody, right? It's, you have 2,500 here, you have 1,000 here, you have 3,000 here, and each one of those is a great opportunity, but they all have this list of what needs to be done. And so we brought together some of our key stakeholders, both around nutrition and physical activity in Massachusetts, with the intention of saying, how can we streamline this? Not to change anybody's work per se, but to make it easier for schools. Can we create a shared database? Can we create, similar to how colleges and universities do, a common application where a school can put in all of their need data? And then the part B of the application is specific questions related to that grant. Can we post them all in one spot? Are there ways that I have no money, maybe you have money, you could provide funding or resources to support the schools who are willing to go through this whole process? So that's the state level piece that's happening. Oh boy, hold on.
It's okay, I'm coming. If you couldn't hear me conspicuously running around the room.
I just said quit, it's all good. That was really just an effort to watch Kate run.
I have had plenty of this.
And then the other piece of this is that we're creating an online storage area for all of the materials and site visit information, which will all be collected. And so then there are the 4 components: the pre-visit, the site visit, the post-visit, and then the technical assistance that's provided. Each site visit is 3 hours. So that's everything from the arrival and introduction to observing at least 2 lunch periods, to a debrief with the director and or key staff that they have in place, to a 35-minute staff training. And in fact, we were just talking this morning that we're really excited about the new resource, the No Time to Train resource, because that's the beauty of Job Embedded, is that Job Embedded professional development, we know the research tells us not only does it work, but it's really important. Because we've all been to trainings where it's, oh, this is a really great piece of information, I'm really gonna take the cellophane off when I get back. But then you get back and you don't take the cellophane off, not because it's not great information, but because life happens. And so if we're able to get them going down that road of seeing practical, thoughtful, job-embedded training happening and how it's tied to other components, they'll be better off on the right track and also help them to meet their professional standards needs. And then there's the wrap-up and evaluation. Post-visit. This is where our coaches are uploading the pictures, the scorecard, the goals. All of this is coming together. It's going back to the director to say, here's what you said, here's what you did. Make sure this all makes sense. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Productions and sales records are being added to that. And then there's the feedback form, and they're mailing their evaluations back. Because they've committed to doing their 10 points on the scorecard. We are asking them to complete 5 of them within the first month. With summer coming, that month might get spread out just a little. But then there's a follow-up 2 months after that to say, you've done this, how did it go, how's it going, now let's do the other 5. What technical assistance can I provide to make this happen and to help you out? So the second 5 goals happen the same way. We're collecting final production records and sales records. And then further down the line, probably about 6 months out, we're gonna have the director recomplete the scorecard. So we can see what they actually did. One thing that we were just talking about actually just came up this morning, that what we need to make sure that we tell our directors that we're going in, especially our early adopters, is don't make a bunch of changes before we get there. Get credit for it. So we need to make sure that we include that in there. So if anybody has not thought of that point, it was a aha to us. That we're really excited, you're really excited, but hold on for just a minute. And then our timetable follows our team nutrition grant, and so this is going to go through August of 2016. As I mentioned, some of the unique aspects of this is that it is tied into our WIS initiative, our Wellness Initiative for Student Success. We're coming at this and we're getting the administrators by really focusing in on what's important to them. No one in nutrition is going to argue about the nutrition of students. No one in schools, no administrator is going to say the health of students isn't important. Where the discrepancy comes in is, what is my responsibility in a school? And what am I willing to change or maintain to make that happen? So the more we can go in saying, I recognize that May is a really crummy time for you to start something because you have our state testing and park testing going on right now. So it's probably not the best time for us to come in there. So we're not going to. But when we get you on board next fall, we are gonna talk about why it's important to have healthy snacks year round. Why we want to be sending the message of kids getting enough sleep year round. Why we're not just having them take quick, short activity breaks 5 minutes before the test. Because we want them to be learning what they need to know so that they can reach those benchmarks and those outcomes. Our cadre of coaches, having a consistent communication among ourselves. Also making sure that we are talking about what's working, what isn't working, and what we need to change and being fluid. Streamlining our technical assistance and follow-up. We've done different initiatives in the past, and recognizing that the same follow-up and technical assistance isn't going to work for everybody. And so having your talking points and your bullets are really important, but then not being so stuck to those talking points that you sometimes forget to see the forest for the trees. And making sure that we're being consistent about what we're collecting in terms of data. We need everybody to buy in, to be on board. We have very competent and committed coaches, which makes my life much, much easier. I I guarantee that. And as I mentioned, the consistent procedures and the regular follow-up. So we have schools who are willing to enroll, and next week we have our annual Directors Summit for 2 days on the 20th and 21st. There's already buzz happening about what's going to be launched for the fall. Because the ones that have got in on the ground floor are telling all their friends, and their friends are getting a little jealous, which is okay with me. And the other things I mentioned, the procedures, the materials, and using a coordinator and the coaches. Not only making sure that they're competent, but having individuals that you know that you can trust. So pulling in those partners, and a lot of other folks have talked about that today, about the importance of partners. As I had mentioned, our difficulties were our timeline, so we switched our timeline. We didn't throw it all out the window, because what occurred to me and to our team was that, so they don't all come together as a team first. So we do the Smarter Lunchrooms, and we do a comprehensive school physical activity program training. That's okay. We'll pull them together as a team in the fall, then they'll be refreshed and ready to go. Either way, they're getting all of the components. And so that is what we're doing in Massachusetts. I try to keep it kind of short and in a nutshell here. But if anybody has any questions, I will be around. Thank you. Was there a question in the back real quick? Yeah.
So you have school wellness teams that work together with different people, and then do you incentivize the leader of the team or anybody on that team? I mean, like what a school says, we have our teams don't need more, and how do you kind of
Sure. So I think, unfortunately, we don't have an incentive for them right now. But what we are pulling off of is that they do have their wellness teams. And the schools and the districts that are coming on board, so there's two sides to this, right? So we're asking school level folks to come. However, if a district comes to us and says, I can't send all of my schools, but I'm willing to send a district level team that will work with 3 different schools, then that's okay, and we're willing to work with them that way. But because of the wellness policy mandate, we're really pulling off of that. And our nutrition directors are looking for that support, and they're looking for even more of a push to keep them on those teams and help them be even more relevant. And so this is another way to help them stay involved. And our physical education folks are saying, we want more physical education and physical activity in schools. And so really what's happening is that both sides of this are seeing this as an opportunity to build that support and to build that network within their own schools.